Sweet. We good? Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to the Best Real Estate Investing Advice Ever show via Facebook Live. We are confirmed that we're live and looking forward to our conversation. If you have any questions or comments during our conversation, then go ahead and comment below the video and we'll get to those either on this call or this video or next week. So you ready, Rock?
Let's do it, Joe.
All right. Best ever listeners, how you doing? Welcome to the Best Real Estate Investing Advice Ever show. I'm Joe Fairless. This is the world's longest running daily real estate investing podcast. We only talk about the best advice ever. We don't get into any fluff. We are normally interviewing real estate investors and entrepreneurs like Robert Kiyosaki, Barbara Corcoran, Emmett Smith, Hall of Fame football player, and real estate developer. But today, it's just us. We're just hanging out. And we are, well, we're not just hanging out. We are going to focus on lessons we've learned and our experiences as entrepreneurs and real estate investors over the last week. So this is Follow Along Friday episode. Every other day of the week, we interview guests, but today it's Theo Hicks and I talking about our lessons learned and how that can relate to you as a real estate investor and entrepreneur. So Theo, how do we want to kick it off?
Well, just start off with some deal updates. Do you want to start out? I know you got a lot of things going on this week and the next couple of days in regards to your deals.
Yep. So the property that we have that we're going to be buying next is not under contract yet, but it is getting close. We are negotiating with the attorneys on the PSA, the purchase and sale agreement. That will likely be wrapped up by this time next week. And in the meantime, I'm actually going down to Dallas tomorrow morning. We're recording this Wednesday, just so we could, because I'm traveling, quite frankly. So I'm leaving Thursday and I'll be there until Sunday. The focus of that trip will be doing some walking through the property, number one, but two is focusing on the rental comps in the area and making sure that the rent premiums are in line with what we have projected. My business partners visited the rent comps already. Our analyst has called the rent comps more recently than his visit, but I want to be a third level verification. And we've run this by our property management company, who's really more experts than we are, because they oversee 9,500 apartments in Dallas.
Wow.
Even though that's all the case, I still want to go visit and do the secret shopping myself. So I'll go to the rent comps and look at what they're renting out relative to the rent price and compare that to ours and make sure that we're in line, which we should be not just in line, but we should be underneath where what we can achieve. And in addition, I will be visiting the other properties in our portfolio. We have 8 properties in Dallas-Fort Worth that we'll be visiting, 1 in Fort Worth, and the rest of them are in Dallas, pretty all close by, except for one's in Garland, which is an outlier. And meeting with, I'll be hanging out with my brother and going to T-ball game, my nephew's T-ball game on Thursday, and then just gonna make a quick trip, hanging out with my family and coming back Sunday. So just Thursday to Sunday.
When you go and visit not this property that you're trying to get under contract right now, but your other properties, do you say that you're the owner, or do you who do you say that you are if someone were to ask you who you were?
No one asked. Well, the residents don't ask.
Okay.
The leasing agent and the manager, they know I'm coming. Usually they know I'm. Sometimes they don't actually. And if it's a new person or something, then I'll just say I'm with Ashcroft Capital.
Okay.
And that's really.
I was just curious because I mean, for my properties, I told myself that if because they're smaller, and so I'll be interacting with the tenants, and I'm not telling them the owner, because I've heard people say that if once tenants realize that you're the owner, they, I guess, treat you differently than if you're just the property manager, and you can kind of use that separation as, I guess, maybe like negotiating. Like if they have some issue, like, oh, I'm the property manager, that's up to the owner, I'll see what I can do for you. So I was just curious.
Yeah, and I remember we talked about that on a follow-along Friday, and we talked about how you can say you're with the management company, which is true. You are with the management company, and you're buying it with Marcella, your girlfriend, and so you're not.
She's the owner.
She's really the owner. Yeah, she's the one in charge, exactly. But with these properties, I'm just some guy walking around checking things out, and the residents don't ask
curious.
me. No.
Anything else on those deals to talk about?
I don't think so. No. Scheduled to close on that one the week of. Originally, we thought it would be August the 28th, because they're kind of pushing us towards closing a little bit early, but we're able to close probably the week of September 10th. So we'll be closing in, what is that, like 2 months from now or something, something like that.
Yep. Stuff.
Yeah. How's your deals going? What's the latest?
So
and remind everyone like what they are.
Yeah. So 3 4-unit properties. I think last time we spoke, we had sent out the contract extension.
Yes.
And it was not signed yet because they're on vacation and they weren't signing it. And there's still a lot of issues going on with the listing agent or the seller's agent.
Did they sign it?
They signed it.
Okay.
Yes, they finally signed it.
Good.
On Friday, I'm going to do a final walkthrough of all the units just to make sure that because there's a couple of things in the the inspection addendum that they're supposed to fix. I got to make sure that they fix all that stuff, because especially after dealing with them for the past month and a half, I don't necessarily trust them saying, "Oh yeah, of course we did it. Now here's some receipts." I don't trust it. So I'm going to go in there and test all the faucets to make sure.
Are you a handy guy?
I mean, kind of.
Okay,
I can figure it out.
You can tell if it's fixed or not. If it's
Okay. I walked through with the inspector, and so I've got like the inspection report, and I've got my notes of all the different leaks that there were, and then he just told me to just turn them on and see if they're leaking or not. So there's mostly just like leaky faucets in the kitchen, in the bathroom, and then in the shower that they're supposed to fix, and so I need to check that. And the biggest thing that we're worried about is making sure we have keys to all the units, because I've gone there two or three times already. I'm not even sure how many, to go in to check in all the units, and each time some keys don't work, and so another outcome of the walkthrough to make sure all the keys work. But
were there any major mechanical issues that they had to fix?
No,
because keys, you can just replace a lock, whatever, but like anything major, nothing major.
No, the roofs are old, and that's really it. And so we're going to get a roofer out there to make sure that they're not going to fall through. 2 of them we know are fine and are going to last a while. One, the third roof, the inspector couldn't see like one specific side of it, and so I need to get a roofer out there. It's funny. A while back, I'm not sure if I talked about this on this podcast yet or not, but I got a call from the listing agent, or my agent called me and said that the seller's agent was like freaking out and was like threatening to somehow void the contract, which they can't do, but they were threatening to do that because they thought that I sent out like a roofer to look at the roofs. And so we didn't know who it was, we didn't know who was sent out there, we didn't know if they were lying or what, but that was interesting. And I remember at the time I was like, oh man, like I can't believe I maybe did I do something wrong, I make a mistake here. But now, like after a month and a half of the listing agent just kind of not doing anything, I don't really feel bad at all. But I guess on the positive note, we're going to close, I think, within a week or 2 weeks at a maximum. So earlier than we actually expected, and we're going to be able to close on all 3 at the same time. Whereas before, they're going to have us close on 2, and then close on the third 2 or 3 weeks later, just because of the way that they underwrite the deals. But I think one of the properties in the original portfolio, because there's 5 properties originally, we got 3 of them. I think one of those must have closed because our appraiser was able to use a property on that street, which brought our appraisal value up, which is allowing us to close all three at the same time.
Good.
That's kind of cool.
Very cool. Good stuff. And did you see the comp?
No, but we knew that the two other properties were probably going to sell quicker because one of them was just. I assumed that their property would close faster than ours because ours were taking so long. And I think there's actually two listing agents. And I think one of them, I think the one that we have is a little slower than the other guy, and so I assumed that it would close sooner. And so luckily our lender and the appraiser were on top of that. But I didn't realize that the appraiser has to set everything up through the selling agent, to the inspector. And so I wish there was a way to, I guess, not have that happen. Like have me set it up or my agent set it up, because I don't really have control of the listing agent at all. And so if he doesn't respond in time, doesn't provide the right keys, then it kind of delays the process, and it's kind of frustrating on my end. So that's something that I need to kind of brainstorm ways to, I guess, maybe like just reach out to the agents more, or I'm not sure necessarily what I could do to fix that in the future. But if there's any mistake that I've made this past week in Dorset's entire deal is just kind of trusting the agents to do things, to do things in a timely manner, when that's just not the case sometimes. And
we talked about last week how you're likely going to be the agent representing you next time.
I got to revive my licensing, my license from up in Columbus, and represent myself moving forward.
So high level total purchase price and total rents.
So the total purchase price, it'll be $660,000.
Okay.
So three properties for $220,000 each, and then the rents are $2,700 a month per.
$2,700 per building times 3, and it's $6,600. Or 66,000.
Yeah, it was 6,600. 660,000.
660,000. Okay, so on the 2% thing, it's a 1.2%, which is good cash flow, assuming that there's not major expenses that you have to put into it, and the area. Where Pleasant Ridge?
It's in Pleasant Ridge. It's like a B area,
and it's trending better.
The appraiser told me that the inspector told me that every single time a property sells in Pleasant Ridge, it's like a record high for a value. And then I guess just quickly what our business plan is we got 3 buildings. Those rents are the current rents, but those are not even close
those are
to
current
market.
rents.
And they're not even close to market
you're
rents.
Golden.
I think I talked about last time how we can probably raise the rents for each unit by between $100 and $150.
You're gonna
without doing any renovations. If you did renovations, probably like $200 or $300. Because the leases are all month to month. They're so old, so we plan on going to each building, starting with the one with the lowest rents first, and then giving notifications of the new higher rent, and give them a month to decide. And then if they don't want to pay the higher rent, then they have a month to leave, and then we'll find a new tenant. We'll clean. It's for all the units, it's going to require at most just cleaning. Some of them might need like a new vanity, maybe new hardware on like the sink faucets, and then some of them might need like new cabinets, but I think we can just paint them because they're nice cabinets. They were dirty, but like just very very few upgrades, like very minor stuff, just touch ups. And I'm not sure if anyone's seen like the 1960s style apartments or like condos. They got like the tile everywhere, and so we plan on kind of just glazing the tile if we need to. We've got some pink ones,
pink tile?
They're like really bright colors.
Oh yeah.
And so that's the plan for the property, and we're for all 3 properties, and we're super excited.
And you're managing it yourself.
Yeah.
All right. You will have plenty of stories for us as we progress on Follow Along Fridays and as you progress in those deals. Yeah. Holy cow. All right, good stuff. As far as the mistake, we were talking before we started recording, and neither one of us could think of a glaring mistake that we made. And we also want to not just mention a mistake we've made if we can think of one over last week, but also the best ever thing that's happened, either personally or business-wise, since last time we talked, because the last 2 or 3 weeks we've been doing a mistake, but not balancing it out with the best thing that's happened to us, and that's just not like me. I don't like doing that. I don't like focusing on it's not negative, because we always think, how can this help us? Life happens for us, not to us. But as far as mistake goes, nothing business-wise, but I didn't mention this to you, but now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I'd say I've been volunteering for hospice, and I haven't visited my patient in like 2 weeks. And it bugs me, and I feel guilty because when, like 2 weeks ago, when I was going to visit, I didn't, because some business stuff came up and I had to handle it. But I told someone at the bank that when I was at the bank, they said, what are you doing this weekend? Or what are you doing tonight? And I said, I got to go to hospice. And I got, I feel like I got a benefit from telling someone that I'm doing it, because they're like, oh, wow, you do that. And then we started talking, but I didn't actually do it. So I feel guilty for receiving social credibility from saying I was going to do it, but then I haven't done it in 2 weeks, let alone, hospice, on average 6 months or less, and they're dead, right? They pass away. So that's a mistake. I am going to make it a priority to visit at least once a week for the next month, and that's so there's that. As far as the best ever thing, I'd say I've read a book and a half since last Friday.
There you go.
Yeah, I was on a tear, and the book that I just tore through, and I skipped I skipped like a couple chapters because it wasn't relevant. The book I tore through, though, I highly recommend. It's not recommend. It's mandatory reading for any apartment investor. Mandatory reading for any apartment investor. It's called Burn Zones by George Newberry.
Okay.
The reason why it's mandatory reading for any apartment investor is because he had 4,000 apartments, 4,000 units, and he lost it all. 4,000 units, and he lost it all. And this book outlines how that happened and what he did about it. Chapters 4 and 5 are the two chapters you must read as an apartment investor. I interviewed him on the show.
Okay.
And his interview is coming out in about 2 months. So if you want to hear his story first, which I recommend, or if you want to read his story first, which I recommend, buy his book, Burn Zones. It's mandatory reading for any apartment investor, and read chapters 4 and 5. The reason why I skipped through the chapters 2 and 3 is because he talks about his life story, and it's basically autobiography. And I wasn't too interested in his life story and his cycling and stuff, but I was really interested in his case study. After I interviewed him, I was like, I have to read your book. Burn Zones, chapters 4 and 5, mandatory reading for apartment investors. I recommend chapter 1. Well, I read the whole thing if you want, but definitely chapter 1 to get an idea of who he is. And then I just skipped to 4 and 5, and I read the rest of the book as well. So I guess I almost read one full book with him, and then I've read a half of a book of Raving Fans by Ken Blanchard, Sheldon Bowles. I've actually already read that before. I'm just rereading it because it's a good one. But Burn Zones by George Newberry, Playing Life's Bad Hands, mandatory reading.
Does he? Because it's crazy. I mean, most people don't even get 4,000 units in their life period. But he got 4,000 units, lost them all, and I'm sure has he recovered, and he kind of walked through how the psychology behind getting completely crushed and destroyed.
He has recovered. He has a company now where he buys bad debt from non-performing notes from banks, and he does work. He works with the owners, homeowners, and tries to keep them in their house. And he still makes money because he buys the mortgages at such a discount from the banks. He's able to lower the overall payment that's due to the homeowner. I forget the company name, like American Homeowner Association, or I forget exactly. Just search his name, buy the book. It all happened with a domino effect from one property, and you can tell his intentions were so good, and it sucks the way it happened. But I mean, ultimately, life happens for us and not to us. And he, I don't know about came out ahead, but he is thriving with his current company, and it's a result of what transpired.
Yeah, I'm sure. Very, very fortunate. They lost all 4 of them properties, materially, but internally, he still had all the systems and I guess education and everything that it took to actually get those 4,000 properties within him, so that he could probably replicate it again if he needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think for I already talked about some mistakes in regards to my properties, and I mean, honestly, the best everything that's happened to me since is realizing that we're going to close on all 3 properties. The appraisers have either been at the list price or at the purchase price or above, and I'm going to be able to get into all units, and so I'm just super jacked up about those deals.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the only other thing I can think of, and this is more on a personal note, I'm sure we've probably talked about this for a while, but I think it's just an interesting thought experiment. Marcella was out of town for a week, and so for me, I work all day and then I'm with her all night, and so it's very strange, not seeing her for a week when I've basically seen her every day for 2 years, and so I need to get new hobbies, I think, or more hobbies or something. Because I'm sitting there on Saturday, and I just did not know what to do with myself at all. As I'm sitting there, it was I read an entire book on Saturday and just started taking notes on it.
Oh, you read an entire book on Saturday? Wow.
I just didn't know what to do because
How many pages is the book?
250 maybe.
You read a 250-page book in one day?
Yeah. I was reading I went to the coffee shop and was there for 5-6 hours just reading straight.
Jeez. Wow. All right. Well, that's pretty impressive. You know what you're doing when you don't know what to do with your time? You know what I'm doing?
What?
I'm practicing basketball. So I can beat you in basketball 1-on-1. All right, what else we got?
So the main topic of the day is about how to get how to get a lot of high-level property views. Mm-hmm. This came from a listener who listened to one of your episodes, and you mentioned how, I think you said you're mentioning how you may be having trouble getting reviews for your property or something along those lines. And so he provided, he works for a property management company who is, I guess he specializes in figuring out the best ways to get as many reviews as possible. And so he provided 4 really good tips on things that we can do and people listening can do to get a lot of their tenants or residents to leave reviews on their property. So I'm going to read exactly what he said, and I'll give some commentary on it.
Yeah, and before you read through, these are 4 ways to get 5-star reviews for your property.
Yep.
And in case it's not obvious, which I imagine it is, the reason why this is important is because when someone sees an ad on Craigslist, or if they are searching online about your community, they're going to see reviews. What do you want them to read? Do you want them to read good stuff or bad stuff? What's more likely to get you command higher rent? Good reviews or bad reviews? And when you get higher rent, that helps with your overall value. When you sell, the cap rate, the beauty of the cap rate and multiplying your value. Online reviews are paramount, and it is incredibly challenging to get them, at least from what I've found. And I'm very grateful that Joseph,
yeah.
Right? I'm very grateful that Joseph was thoughtful enough and wanting to help out that he emailed me how he has successfully gotten 5-star reviews for his property. And I asked him, is it okay to share this with the best ever listeners? Because everyone can benefit from this. And he said, absolutely. So thank you, Joseph, for this. This does have a direct impact on my personal bottom line, for profit and loss and my investors, and then also this will have a ripple effect for every best ever listener who has a property where they want to increase their 5-star reviews, which includes Theo.
Yep, and you guys think whenever I'm buying anything online, the first thing I do is look at the reviews, and if it's got a small, low, 2, 3, 4 stars, even books, anything, I just completely pass over it. So that's another, I guess, anecdotal evidence is why it's so important. So number one way to get more reviews is, he says, if you can't beat them, get close to beating them. Yelp is the hardest to control, and so Yelp's an online reviewing service, and seems to be an outlet for dissatisfied residents. We contract with a company called Modern Message, who has a resident rewards program that turns social media and reviews into a game for our residents. This allows us to get internal reviews and place them on an external site that has amazing SEO value. And so I guess basically what he's saying is that he hires a company that has this rewards program that makes getting reviews like a game. And when they get these reviews from their tenants, they're able to link that up to their website or to Facebook or to some other site that they have. Like when you see the testimonial tab on some websites, and since you're kind of linking up to your internal reviews elsewhere, it increases the SEO for the keywords for your property management company's name or your company's name. And so he said that if you Google his company's name plus the city that he's in, they're like ranked number 1 and it comes up under Yelp. And then he also says that he places these ads in places like Facebook. So I guess number 1 is hiring out a company to help you with the reviews.
And the company he mentioned is called Modern Message. That's the company they worked with.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So number 2 is give away or random gifts.
I wouldn't mention the Casey.
Okay. Give away random gifts. So he said that we had $5 T-shirts that they created with I think like the local sports team. I mean, they can be really anything, and gave them away to everyone who came in on a certain day, and along with a card. So I guess they gave them a card too that said, "Thanks for being a great resident. Please share your experience on Google." And this worked very well. So offer to give away free stuff, and when they come to pick up their free item, give them some sort of card that says, "Hey, you're a great resident, and here's a link to, please show your appreciation by linking, reviewing us. Here's a link to do that." So you're actually giving them a link so they don't have to do it themselves.
That is my favorite so far, because when people expect something, then they're not as impressed with what you give them. But if they don't expect something, you can give them something much lower in value, and it will be more impressive than the higher in value thing they were expecting.
Yeah.
And that's in life. That's just in life. So when you give them something random, then say, hey, and I don't know what the exact wording is, but you have to work through the wording. But basically, if you'd like to share any commentary about your experience living in our community, then please go online and write something. That's my favorite so far.
So number 3 is to survey the residents. So send out a survey and get feedback on the cleanliness of the building, maintenance response time, and things like that. After you fix some of the concerns, send the survey out a couple months later with a link to review at the end. And so I mean that's positive, because number 1, you're getting feedback from your residents and things that you can improve upon. Maybe something's broken you didn't know about, and so you can fix that. At the same time, you can also use that as an opportunity to get more reviews.
And I would take that to a more granular level. When there is a maintenance request that doesn't appear to be like a negative thing for the property, then I would, when we fix it, I would send the resident an email and say, hey, did we fix it? Are you good with everything? They say yes, then give them a link to review it. And what I meant by not a negative thing for the property, if the maintenance request is, I have bed bugs, and then you fix it, and you're like, hey, can you go online and review? Like, we fixed your bed bugs. That's not a good thing to be online.
That's
but if the maintenance request is my faucet leaked or my toilet was running, and then we fix it, then I would send the link to review. Oh, great! And if you have a chance, can you just mention your experience with us fixing the problem? And so that would be a more granular way. And what I found is that when you do a mass email, there's less accountability for actually doing something, and that's proven in psychology too. If there's a famous or infamous case in New York City where a woman was being attacked, and she was screaming out for help, and there were buildings on either side of people looking out the window, and everyone thought someone else was calling the cops, and no one called the cops.
Wow.
And it's proven time and time again that if you need help from someone, then you say, hey, you in those red shorts, can you please help me? And now you in those red shorts will be felt responsible for now helping. And same with these reviews. If you do a mass email, hey, we need some, we'd love for your feedback, that's one thing, but it's another, you who had the leaky faucet, would you mind helping us out? And your response will be much higher.
Yeah, that's a very good point. The last point is just, he said, be really, really good at answering the phone, expressing empathy, and following up. And so this is kind of similar to what you just said. It's whenever something happens, make sure you respond quickly and answer your phone when they call, express empathy, and then follow up later to make sure that everything's fixed. And then when you do follow up, say, hey, here's a link to leave a review. That's something else that I thought about when I was reading this, and I'm doing the monthly investor emails right now for you. And so I was thinking, because I know you guys do like monthly community get-togethers, and so there's a way to tie that into getting reviews.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's when people leave, give them a note, or have an iPad there so that people could do reviews while they're actually there. So you get them before they leave.
That's a money idea,
because you're giving them all that stuff. Like I think there's Taco Tuesday and poolside popsicles and breakfast on the go and things like that. And so when they're there, people love free stuff, and so they're gonna get the free stuff, and they'll feel obligated to. And they're in the moment, like, oh yeah, Taco Tuesday's the best. Like, you get a bunch of Taco Tuesday reviews.
You nailed it. We just so happen to have the review all written. You just have to push enter, and you just take their finger. There you go. Just push enter down. There you go.
Yeah.
We will do that. Thank you for that suggestion.
And then a second suggestion. This is for smaller properties, because this would not work for bigger properties. And this is what I did. It's it might be kind of cheesy and cheap, but it is what it is. But I don't buy stuff ever, and so during Christmas when I get my Christmas presents, I get a ton of gift cards, like $5 gift cards here, $10 gift cards at Panera, and so I just re-gifted those for my tenants for either a New Year's gift or a Christmas gift. And then when you're doing that with that note at the same time, you can put a link to a review for your property at the same time.
And I would do it not as a Christmas or New Year's Eve gift or Hanukkah or whatever. I would do it as a random gift of thank you, because then it goes back to not expecting something. Or your 1 year renewal or 6 month renewal, maybe even your 6 month anniversary, or 8 month anniversary, because that's when you're thinking about, should I stay or should I go? Yeah. So you give them something, and then you encourage them to renew. And also renew and review, baby. Yeah,
I think I did it around Christmas time because it just was convenient, or because I was having a ton of issues with the property and I felt really bad for the tenants. So I was like, I feel like I give them something so they don't leave.
Yeah.
So so those are 4 ways, 6 ways really.
Yeah, you
to get 5-star property reviews. And again, thank you, Joseph. So something else that we wanted to comment on. We got an interesting comment from a listener on our video last week, and he said, Joe, always good content. Despite your unpolished presentation skills, I'm still watching because of the content. My only recommendation is to have a script and rehearse.
My initial thought was fight, fight or flight thing. My initial thought was fight, but then that was my initial fleeting thought. Maybe it wasn't fleeting; it was like a 5-second thought. And then, ultimately, whenever I receive feedback, I want to acknowledge if it is warranted or not, because I'm always trying to optimize my approach in every aspect of my life. And so then after the initial 5 seconds of let's rumble, then it was okay, what kind of, and this, I think this person's YouTube thing is called fitness trainer. So this person probably destroyed me, by the way. their YouTube name's fitness trainer. After that, it's thinking, okay, well, what is this really getting at? And I agree that I could be more prepared with with the stories and the comments that on Follow Along Friday. And it is only Follow Along Friday because every other episode is an interview format. So there's no script there. I will never ever write out a script and read it. You would freaking hate that. Believe me, you would hate that. You'd snooze fest all over. But I am taking this as a kind of a jolt to say, okay, let me just be a little bit or a lot more prepared depending on the Follow Along Friday with a couple anecdotes versus trying to free flow. Because when you free flow, if you're not at all prepared, then you aren't as succinct as you could be, and therefore you're not making the best use of everyone's time, including your own. But I also I'll approach it as I do presentations, and that is have a talking point and then know what my main point is, and then have commentary around it.
Perfect. So
thank you for your feedback, by the way. I do appreciate it, and ultimately I dismissed the always good content part. So I appreciate also the always good content comment, and your feedback is taken to heart.
Awesome. So a couple other miscellaneous things. So upcoming exclusive interview. I know we've got a pretty big one coming out next Tuesday, I believe.
Is it next Tuesday?
I'm pretty sure it's next Tuesday.
Okay, Jillian Michaels.
I think it's the 19th.
Okay, all right, July 19th. Jillian Michaels, interviewed her, and you'll enjoy it as an entrepreneur. We did not talk about real estate investing. I don't know if she's a real estate investor. She's a freaking phenomenal entrepreneur, and very genuine, good energy, life lessons as entrepreneurs. It's a quick 15-minute conversation. I didn't spend any time at the beginning introducing her qualifications. You know who she is. She's a fitness trainer and got over 100 million followers through social media, 8-time best-selling New York Times author. And here's the thing, for everyone who submitted questions, I included your question, and I said so-and-so from such and such city asked the following question. So I got in all the questions. I believe that everyone asked me to ask her, and so really it wasn't my interview with her, it was your interview, Best Ever Listeners with her. And so listen into that interview, and I know you'll get a lot of value out of it, as I did. Yeah, I'm
looking forward to the interview a lot. And then finally, we want to get to the review of the week. So do you want to, I guess, mention this first?
I've been told by my team that I should ask everyone on every Follow Along Friday episode to subscribe to the show if you haven't already, and leave a review. And it helps because it will create a larger Best Ever community, and together as the community grows, we'll achieve more.
And if you do leave a review, you might have the opportunity to feature review of the week. This week, the winner is the name is Fly Navy Buy Property. I always love people's iTunes names on here. They're always so interesting. And the title of the review was excellent advice for all knowledge levels. And here's the review. My favorite thing about this podcast is that it has something for everyone. There is great advice at an easily understandable level for those just getting into real estate. At the same time, there are sophisticated strategies and insights for the most seasoned investor. All of this is brought together in a fun, interesting, and easily digestible segment. If you want to know more about investing in real estate, listen to Joe now.
Fly Navy, buy property. Thank you so much for that review. And Theo and I are going to take off. We got some basketball to play. If you want to receive a signed copy of the first 2 volumes of the book by both Theo and I, then you must properly guess who is going to win the basketball game playing by 13 and then what the score will be. I've been practicing a lot. I even Googled how to beat a taller player in basketball, and I've got a couple moves I'm going to be doing, so watch out, Theo.
Looking forward to it, Joe.
All right, best ever listeners. Hope you have the best ever day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.